one of which is Laura Smyth, our local Member of Parliament, who Canberra is always glad to see.
Thank you very much indeed, and it's great to be back and to be able to catch up with the student leaders and with all of the staff who I know very well, but also it's great to be back to be able to speak with you and to be able to invite along someone I've been trying to get to come to Canberra for a little while, Kevin Rudd, and I've been trying to get him to come to your school for a while now because, well, for a range of reasons. Because I know that your school is doing fantastic things trying to achieve the kinds of results that you're all very capable of, and it's succeeding in that at the moment. So it's really focused on your academic results. But it's more than that, with Canberra, and it's the reason I love coming back here. And I think I've said it before, it's because your school is very much a school which looks out into the community and which not only looks to your students to have great academic results, it looks to all of your students, and not just the student leaders, but all students, to be contributors to the community. And it's with great pleasure that I'm able to announce that Kevin Rudd is here today at last. We've tried to get him out here a few times before, and it's with great pleasure that I'm allowed to able to introduce him today to speak to you and perhaps hear a few questions from you. Kevin Rudd.
Well, good morning, guys. Are you all having a good day today? Doesn't get any better here at Canberra when you're here in an assembly listening to Laura Smyth, your local federal member, and of course your school principal. To all of you who are teachers here, can I also say thank you very much for your dedication and your hard work. You hold the nation's future in your tender hands, and your success and your achievements will very much shape what sort of future Australia has. And if I could also acknowledge Chen Lao Shi, 早上好. That's your Chinese language teacher, Ms. Chen. What I'd like to talk about today is your future. Your future. Your future. What I want to talk about is what you are going to do with your lives. These are really hard decisions. And I get asked these questions right around Australia. And the question I often get asked by Year 11 and 12s in particular, but younger as well, is how do I know what I'm going to do in the future? Who's here in 11 and 12? Stick up your hands. Okay. Which of you hasn't worked out what you're going to do in the future? Okay, good proportion of you. Which of you have worked out what you're going to do in the future? Okay, and there's a large group up the middle who can't decide. That's fine. That is entirely normal. What I'd like to say to you is just this. When you're at school, and at a great Australian secondary school like this one, you have so many opportunities to work out 2 or 3 very basic things. Number one, what are you really passionate about? What really lights up your lives? What are you really interested in? It may be that the thing that really excites you is flipping open the bonnet of a car and fixing an engine. It may be that what really excites you is how to travel to the moon and back. It may be what really excites you is how do you really design the best, most super you beaut, never to be imagined, enriched and fulfilled graphics for game design, computer games, that you really want to design the next generation of those games. You may want to be a medical doctor, you may want to be a nurse, you may want to be someone who is out there in the creative industry, singing, dancing, performing, acting. And it may be that you want to be a teacher like the dedicated bunch of teachers you have here at Canberra. But the number one thing you've got to do when you're at school is just this. Work out what you're really passionate about. Then there's a second bit. It's a bit harder. Once you've worked out that you're really passionate about, for example, becoming a computer geek or a nerd. I see myself as a nerd, by the way. If you want to be a computer geek, guess what? It doesn't just happen automatically. You've got to work hard at it. You've got to work out how the whole digital world unfolds and all of the elements that would make you expert in the field. So the number 2 thing to do is just hard work. Once you've worked out what you're passionate about and what you really like doing, you've actually got to work at it. Become the best you possibly can. And then the third thing is, once you leave here, you go out and you conquer the world. Nothing stands in your way. When I grew up in country Queensland, I went to a school about like this. We had about 1,200, 1,500 kids. You could tell the rich kids because they wore shoes to school. It was one of those parts of Australia which was a little backward. But what I'm saying is here you have fantastic opportunities. Nothing stands in your way. Nothing stands in any individual Australian young person's way in carving out whatever future you want for yourselves. Next thing I'd like to say is, what's the role of the government in all of this? The role of the government is to try and make all that as possible for you as we can. Now, one of the things that struck Laura and myself all those years back was how do we make it possible for each and every one of you to be full members of the digital world? In other words, out there in cyberspace, out there in the World Wide Web, out there in computer land, out there in that whole new domain of life, so that no one is falling behind. And so what we did was sat down and said every Australian secondary school kid from year 9 and above should have access to their own computer. Because there are a whole bunch of kids around Australia who didn't. A lot of kids did, but a whole bunch did not. And over the last 5 years, we've now rolled out more than 1 million laptops or PCs across the country. Your principal tells me that we've now rolled out about 1,000 in this school alone. That is fantastic. That's as it's supposed to be. So that you get to take your laptop home, you get to work on your laptop at school, and you get to enter the whole digital world that awaits your generation when you're going out there to conquer the world. How many of you are enjoying your laptops at the moment? How many of you are not enjoying your laptops at the moment? How many of you had a laptop before? You see, we are making a difference. The whole point is to make sure that you are at no disadvantage relative to anyone else who is at an Australian secondary school at present. That's about preparing for your future. The last thing I wanted to say is there's another part of your future beyond laptops and the digital world that we want to prepare you for as well. And that goes to how we prepare for your future in the world. I look around this community here and I see that there are students from all over the world. The great thing about Australia is that we are one big, inclusive, multicultural family. Can you imagine what it'd be like if we all came from the same place? It'd be boring. The fact that we come from everywhere and every nation under the sun makes us a really interesting country to be in. I've been Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of this country. You run around the world and you tell people that we come from about 190 different ethnicities, 190 different countries around the world. They all scratch their head and they say, how could that be? How could you be united? Well, we are, and we're proud to be as members of the Australian family. But our future also lies not just in what you do in this community, what you do in this great city of Melbourne, this great state of Victoria, and across our great country called Australia, but the opportunities which will open up to you in the world. The thing about the digital world and the computer world is that it reaches way beyond national boundaries. Let me give you an example. In the last 24 hours, I've been sending messages in Chinese, I learned Chinese at university, to those who read Chinese Twitter in China. There are about 3 to 4 to 5, probably 750,000 people who read my Chinese language messages each day. In other words, the future that lies ahead for you is being able to communicate with folk right around the world. And if you have a second language, it becomes even more important. You have a teacher now who is here to teach Chinese. You're adding Chinese to your already existing language programs of Japanese and German. Yours is a really smart school. You know why? What's the #1 economy in the world by size? Anyone tell me? The United States. They speak English most of the time. #2, what's the second largest economy in the world? China. They speak Chinese, and you're teaching Chinese at this school. #3 economy in the world. Japan. You're teaching Japanese in this school. What's the #4 economy in the world? Germany, and you're teaching German in this school. This is a super smart school. We speak English. We can even understand American English. You're learning Chinese, you're learning Japanese, and you're learning German. You are equipping yourselves for your future in the world. And that's a terrific place to be. In 10 years' time, China will be the largest economy in the world. And the impact of that massive economy here in our own region called Asia means that so many of the things you do in the world, so much of the work that you will do, whether it's in medicine and education, in the services industries, whether it's in finance, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in the hospitality industry, you're going to be dealing with China and Japan and Germany. They'll be coming here in large numbers as tourists, as students. They already are. So by having these skills as well as the digital skills, the laptop skills, the internet skills, the computer skills of the 21st century, you are going to become qualified citizens for the world. That's what's exciting. The world is your oyster, guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Work out what you're passionate about, work hard at it, become the best you possibly can at it, and go and take over the world. That's what you can do. Be the best in the world. Know that when you go out of the world, you're going to have just as good as computer skills, internet skills, digital skills as any other kid graduating from school in this country. Because we've made this possible by laying out computers for all of you in this school and schools like it across Australia. And thirdly, we're equipping you with the languages of the future as well. Chinese, Japanese, German. These are terrific opportunities. So be confident as you move your way through this terrific college that you are going to be emerging out the other end with every set of skills you need for the future. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a great time. And not only that, you're going to make a huge contribution to Australia as well. Thank you for your welcome.